Hello, my name is Jennifer McCune. Welcome to the Mompreneur Next Door. And on this platform, I love connecting with other amazing moms who are also entrepreneurs, sharing the good, the bad, the ugly. And it's been such a great way to not only learn from other moms who are trying to make it happen, trying to be moms, be present with their kids, and have professional lives, but it's also connected other moms together and have this platform of support. That's what we're here to do. Women supporting women, moms helping moms, all of that together in a very supportive environment. So today I'm super excited to welcome Dr. Alise Cortez. Alise lives in Dallas and we connected via LinkedIn. Alise has a really great story to share, and I don't want to steal her thunder. I want to turn it over to her. So Alise, why don't you start by telling, I know that you've been a mompreneur, an entrepreneur for many years, basically since you were a mom. Tell us why you even decided to start. What did that look like for you? Because your daughter was very young. That's not necessarily an easy time to start something new.
Yes, Jennifer. Well, first, thank you for having me. It's so great to be on the other end of the mic since I do host my own radio show every week. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So at the time, so I didn't get married till I was 35 years old and have my baby until I was 38. And I had always put work as a big part of my life. It's a very important part of my life. Work for me is a playground and always has been. And it has been a way for me to um, step into my shine, as I like to say, and actualize into my full potential. And so when I had my baby, who's now 16, in 2003, I looked around, I went, well, I don't want to stop working. But my husband at the time was working in a consulting job where he literally was on the road 100%. And so it was me and the four walls and the baby. And I was like, I got to find a way to make this work, because what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to dump my daughter off in daycare at 7 a.m. and then pick her up at 7 p.m. And that was going to be her life. I just didn't want to do that. But I also did not want to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. One, she would have fired me. She would have said, go find something else to do with yourself, because this is not working for me. And two, I needed that ongoing stimulation and such. And plus, Jennifer, I just was on the heels of finishing a PhD program at the time, which of course I'd spent years doing, and many hundreds, I was almost $100,000 to do it. It would be silly of me not to keep working, right? So it was like a perfect mix, if you will, of why I should go off and work on my own, because I wanted to participate in the workforce, but I needed to do it on my terms.
Mhm. Well, and I'm just laughing. So that's amazing that you did your PhD with a young daughter and a husband who I got my PhD, but well before I was married and had kids. So I commend you on being able to do all that. I was astonished. I was silent because I was like working that through in my head of how you even did that. So tell us what that looked like then. What business did you start? And I guess you started it because you wanted to be with your baby girl, but you wanted to have money. So what did you even decide to do, and how did that look? I just don't even know how that could look when you had so much going on.
Well, a little context to that, Jennifer, that will probably help our viewers and listeners is that I had gotten into my PhD program in the late 1990s. And that was really to embark away from just being a true outside salesperson, which I'd done for years, because I wanted to become the product that was saleable. So I thought if I could develop myself into more of a consulting capacity, then I'll sell me. And that's what I was doing. And so when I got in my PhD program, I actually changed careers twice, moved from Washington State to Texas, got married, and had a baby while I was in my PhD program.
Oh my God.
So, so there's a lot of world going on in my life. And so when I was due to deliver, I literally was talking to my daughter in the womb saying, you stay right there. I need you to stay right in there until I get this proposal done for my dissertation. Don't go anywhere. You're not due for a while. And she held up her end of the bargain for the most part. And I was able to get the proposal off my dissertation, and then she was born. So at that point, Jennifer, I had really entered the early phase of my human capital career. I started in recruiting, and then I was starting to go into employee development. And so at that stage in 2003, the easiest thing for me to do was to do like kind of career counseling kinds of things and personal and professional development kind of work, a little bit of leadership development work. So that's what I did to start off with. And now it's evolved tremendously since then, like other end of the spectrum. And I can share more about that later. But when I first literally put my toe in the sand, that's what I was doing. Is it was easiest just to go back from borrowing from the recruiting work that I had done and port that over into helping people find a job or get ready to find the job that they really wanted.
And you leveraged the network you already had and expanded upon that. Is that what that looked like?
Yeah, and I did it poorly because at that point I was only in Dallas when we get to the mistake part of this conversation, um, I was only in Dallas for, about a year by the time I started my own business, and I didn't know anybody. And
Right.
I had found Dallas to be a hard place to start new in. And so it was very floundering. And I would run into people at networking functions, and that's how I initially got a lot of my leads, if you want to call them leads.
So I do want to get back to that, but before we go to that, and I think that's so funny because we all fail forward, right? That's just
Oh,
part of the name of life. It's not even
seriously.
entrepreneurship. Why don't you tell us some of the many benefits you have experienced in entrepreneurship?
Well, I would have to say probably the number one benefit from my vantage point, Jennifer, is the tremendous um, catalyzing developmental ability it's brought for me. It's, to be an entrepreneur is not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's hard work. And I have found for me in my own trajectory that it has catalyzed an ongoing development in me, which of course I terribly prize. So for me, the number one benefit is that it's a forever development tool, personal development tool. And then from there, it's really allowed me to. I wouldn't be living my purpose today if I was working for somebody else. Probably, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to listen to that internal divining rod and let it take me where it was going to take me if I had more of a structured kind of a job or a career. So working for myself gave me that fluidity to literally listen to, like as if I was closing my eyes and allow myself to be led someplace. It allowed me to do that. And today I really do get to live my purpose. It's amazing. Now, I wasn't when I first started, by the way. Let me be very clear about that. I was not living my purpose back then. It unfolded over time. But the other thing too, and you hear it all the time, is the balance thing, the flexibility. My daughter kidnapped me last week on Thursday, and I had full plans to be productive that day. Didn't get anything done for my business, but I didn't want to miss the chance
Right.
of having that time with her. And that's a big reason that I became an entrepreneur, so that I could have more control over my schedule. So those are the big ones. The other thing that I would also say is, and I would say this probably gets maybe romanticized and also overlooked. And that is that another benefit is that you get the opportunity to really create something of value and introduce it into the marketplace in a way that can have a lot of tremendous impact. And if you do it well and right, you can make some pretty decent money at it too.
Right, right, exactly. Well, and it's interesting. You've seen even more now with teenagers that if your teenage daughter wants to spend the day with you, holy
Right.
crap, like you're dropping everything. You're like, sure, honey, whatever you want. You're talking to me, you like me today, all good.
Well, and also too, Jennifer, I mean, on Monday night, she kidnapped me again. And she said, will you take us to King Spa, which is this cool Korean spa here in Dallas? And she said, I want to bring my two friends too. And so not only does she want to be around me, but I also get to hang out with her friends
Right,
too. I mean,
right.
this is a true win right here. So
Oh,
that's definitely a
absolutely.
benefit, right? And
Absolutely.
she's 16 and driving on her own, Jennifer, and she still wants to hang out with her mom. I'm okay.
She doesn't quote unquote need you anymore. She wants to be with you. You've laid that
Yes.
framework, which is amazing.
Yes.
So you've alluded a few times to how your path has really changed. And I think our purpose in doing something, maybe sometimes when we first start in entrepreneurship, we don't think about it in the same way because when you go from school to work, it's kind of, well, this is what you do next and fill out this checkbox and do what somebody else wants. So talk to us a little bit what your purpose might have looked like when you started and how that changed. What has been this evolution? You've kind of alluded to this evolution in your life. So tell us more about
So I would call the process that I've gone through something along the lines of unfoldment
that.
versus evolution. I think it's been a constant unveiling of myself. Think of
Hmm.
it like if you're wearing a long sleeve zip up sweater, you're just slowly zipping, the zipper off of you to see who you really are underneath. It was like that, I think. So when I first started, I didn't really understand my purpose. I didn't know, and I didn't have the ability to see it at that time. That kind of terminology wasn't in my life back then. I just knew that I had skills that I could sell in the marketplace, and I wanted to work and I wanted to make money. And so what happened is, as I went through that process and I started doing more, especially when I started doing more like workshop delivery where I was standing in front of a crowd. I was learning something that was interesting and then teaching it back to the people that hired me to do so. That process catalyzed something in me too that kept me going, oh, I'm good at this. I'm good at helping people understand themselves and seeing themselves in a new way. So that just kept it catalyzed more of an opening in me. And then what happened over time from there, Jennifer, is that I just kept saying yes to the things that lit me up. It was like, the divining rod was showing me the way. And as long as I stayed true to myself and listened to that internal voice, the next great thing was right around the corner. And it just kept opening and growing something in me to the point where, you know, here I finished my PhD. And then as soon as I did that, I realized, wow, I gotta stay in academia. So I can't get away from it. And I started teaching classes at the University of Phoenix and SMU. And as soon as I did that, Jennifer, then I went, oh gosh, I want to get back to the whole intellectual inquiry thing of the dissertation. So I greatly expanded my research around meaning and work and identity and found these cool 15 modes of engagement that were so exciting and so cool that I was just like, and I didn't realize it, but that one of the modes is called living your purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't living mine at the time. I was self-actualizing still. I'm still becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And as I went along, I started realizing, and then, naturally, this stuff started showing up in my social media and my LinkedIn page. And then pretty soon Voice America is calling me saying, hey, we see that you're a researcher, you're a speaker, you're a consultant, you're writing a book, usually makes for a good host. Do you want to host your own radio show? And this was 5 years ago. And I was like, huh, I never thought about being a radio show host, but that sounds good. Let me just see who shows up. And so that opened a whole other, it just kept, like think about a can opening up, you take the can opener going around the sides. It just kept opening more and more and more. And so over the course of 265 episodes of that, more and more every week, learning about what is it that turns me on and excites me. So today, now you find me, I am living my purpose. When I first said it like 3 or 4 years ago, it just like took my breath away. And I actually did get moved to tears. I was speaking in front of a crowd and I said I was living my purpose. I went, oh, I've never said that before. And I caught my breath and I shed a couple of tears and they were all like, everybody was just with me, right? It was the most amazing experience. But today, how I would call myself is a management consultant. And I'm also an inspirational speaker. And I have my own set of programs that I have personally created. I never had my own IP before, but I created my programs. I have a full on leadership program. I've got an online community. I'm writing another book. Um, I'm doing another anthology. So all these things are complete, gorgeous, beautiful expressions of my purpose. And I never got to do that before until I let myself just be led into and accept that path and step into it, not knowing where it was going to take me, but just trusting the journey.
Isn't that wonderful? And I think so many times we're too afraid to do that, afraid of failure, afraid of what people will think, afraid for money. I mean, the fear lists go on and on and on, right? And so we just keep on getting up and doing the same thing day after day after day. So talk to that leading into that, talk to us about some of the things that you failed at and how you've still managed to be so successful, because I think it's the fear that holds people back. It's that fear of the unknown, the fear of failure. So women hearing that other women are not, I mean, here you are super successful. So people are like, oh, I can't do that. But when we lay out the authenticity of what that journey looks like, I think people are like, oh yeah, I can fail. I'm good at that.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have to step back a little bit to make sure I tell the story so that our listeners and viewers will get this. But so I kicked off my own mompreneur career back in 2003 and had been doing that for several years up until May of 2016 when my divorce was final. I had been together for 18 years and now I was leaping into this whole new space of talk about scared. I was so frightened going through divorce. I don't know why, because I'd been on my own forever, but I became codependent on this person financially, socially, and it was just terrifying. And so at that time, I decided that I need to either seriously ratchet up my own business because I was getting kind of bored in it, and I needed to do more back then in 2016, or join another organization that was playing a bigger game than me and go play in that sandbox. So I chose the latter, and for 2 years, took a job at this other management consulting company. And I believe fully I was supposed to come there, and absolutely I was supposed to leave. And so it was nice to have an ongoing regular paycheck and benefits, and definitely the benefit of colleagues. I learned so much in that job. But I got to a place, Jennifer, where about a year into the job, I knew this is not a forever deal for me. I felt imprisoned. I felt like I'd put myself into a small jail cell, and I was struggling to figure out how to get back out because I wasn't expressing the message that I wanted to share with the world. And I also felt very much, handicapped by the structure that they had you in to be productive and work. And so what I did is I actually finagled a poor unsuspecting soul who was on my radio show, Sean Anderson, be my coach. And he coached me for about a year, and together we sprung me out of that job. And the way we did that was I got to the place where I was like, I know that if I'm going to look at the end of my life, and if I'm at my funeral and in my eulogy, it was actually said that she was a consultant for this XYZ company, and that's it. No, 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 no. That is not going to be on my eulogy. Mm-hmm. So literally, when I left that job in July of 2018 to go back and recreate myself anew, and I'm telling you, I jumped off the cliff. I didn't have a bunch of clients waiting for me. It was just like the intensity and the urgency that comes with purpose is undeniable.
Right.
I just knew that I had to do three things in 2018 to pull this off. One, I had to create my own product. So I created my own leadership program called Vitally Inspired, Living and Leading from Purpose. And I created all of that and then launched it in January of 2019. The first cohort went through last year and graduated. Secondly, totally draft my first full book after the research one. I did that. And third, started a nonprofit. I did that called Purpose on Fire. But along the way, the number of times I doubted myself and went, "Oh my God, what have I done? What are you, an idiot?" And then the next moment would be like, "Yay, look what I did!"
Right.
But I had to. Yeah, and you talk about the failing piece. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I just knew I needed to create. I was so governed to create from that space of purpose, and I made a lot of mistakes. I thought it would take less time than it did to get traction. That's one mistake for sure. And so I went through some savings, obviously. And I thought that I had an easier route into corporate America than I did because of my past background. So I expected and assumed that would be an easier path than it was. Ultimately, I did get back into it, but it took a longer time than I expected. And of course, the book took way more longer time than I expected. It's now going to be published this year versus this last year. So, and then the other thing was in the programs that I created, I'd say that I made other mistakes in that I assumed people wanted to live as deeply drink deeply from life like I did. And I needed to be able to balance that sheer geeky depth with practicality as well to make it all work and flow. So those are some of the high level things that I could think of to share that were definitely part of my journey of ups and downs and lessons learned. And I spent money on programs and investments that didn't pan out because I thought they would make a difference. So I wasted money. There's a million things I could tell you I did there.
And it's so funny because I talk to women who do direct sales, who do making their own thing, a product, to somebody like you who has a book and a radio show. And it's pretty common theme that it takes more patience and longer traction, and you're going to spend some money, no
Absolutely.
matter what the business is. And it's very interesting to me. I think that's a huge commonality of entrepreneurship in general. So that's very good to know. Thank you. So tell us a little bit more. If you could give women out there who are thinking of doing their own thing a piece of advice or two, what would that look like?
Oh, absolutely. Hands down, Jennifer. I wish I would have done this for myself. Go get yourself attached to like a mastermind or accountability group, one that will teach you what you don't know. I think also too, and this is something I only did a few years ago, go to the Small Business Administration and plug into that. They've got all kinds of tools and resources, and most of them are free.
Right.
You don't know how to run a business. You don't know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I would absolutely say those things. I would also say that as you're available, well, you also need to find ways to create marketing materials for yourself so that you can socialize your services. I didn't have a website until like 2013, something like that. And that just set me back. And so you do need to, find ways to market yourself and socialize yourself and so that people know what you can do for them. It's not enough to just talk word of mouth, but don't go crazy and spend a whole lot of money on a website. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a website, but I would say those things for sure. And then I think everybody needs a coach. I, for a long time, had two. Now I have one. So those are some of the high level things that I would absolutely say that I would share and wish that I would have done for myself.
And I think that's huge because women in general are really bad at asking for help.
Absolutely. I was too.
Position that, maybe you've had surgery and you literally can't do whatever. I think in general we don't lean on our girlfriends, mentorship, support groups, whatever, and I think we need to do that better. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this mompreneur next door platform, is to really start bringing like-minded women together and support one another and just lift each other up on a positive platform, even no matter what that looks like, whether it comes to fruition of all this business or not, but just lifting each other up. So I love that you said that. That's perfect. So before I let you go, tell everybody how they can find you and tell us a little bit more about your radio show, because that sounds really exciting too.
I'd be happy to, but can I go back and share one more thing about
Yeah.
help?
Oh yeah.
Because I think women will appreciate this. So,
Yeah.
especially since I've been divorced now for 4 years, it's there's me, and let's see, there's me, and then there's me. A lot of times to get things done around the house, and so
Right.
I've gotten really, really good at both asking for and accepting help. And so, what's you might find, I think it's funny, but a lot of times when I'm getting dressed to go out, I can't zip my own dress by myself. So I literally I walk up my front door here and I'm scanning the street for who's walking the dog to see who can I go up to and ask them, will you help me zip my dress? And it is the funniest thing because they're like, have you met the new neighbor? Have you zipped her dress up yet? But I love that. I've gotten to a place where I can ask for help with
Yes.
almost anything. So I just really want to encourage women and people love to help. You'd be
Absolutely.
amazed. And so just want to be able to leave that. And then you wanted me to talk about how people find me and my radio show. Is that
Yes,
right?
please.
Okay. Easiest way to find me is to visit my website. It's alisecortez.com. And
A-L-I,
there is,
do you want to spell
yes, ALISE. And my last name is Cortez, Cortez, alisecortez.com. And there is a tab on there for the radio, which is called Working on Purpose, and you can find it that way. But it's on Voice America, it's on iHeartRadio, it's on 26 other platforms as well, like iTunes, Apple, Stitcher,
Nice.
etc. So yeah, and the radio show itself, Jennifer, I love it. It's evolved just like I have, and today it really is a thought leadership platform and has listeners and guests from all over the world. And the whole idea is to help listeners more meaningfully and purposely connect with their work, and also be able to enable leaders to be able to create a workplace that is enriching, compelling, fulfilling for people that where they want to be and they want to give their best and they want to stay. So I have authors on, I have subject matter experts on. Oftentimes I do the show if the person's with me. It's a Facebook live stream. So yesterday we did that, and we literally had people dialing in from Australia, Malaysia, the Northwest, Mexico. It was amazing.
I love that. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. Well, that is so exciting. Thank you so much for being so abundant and so generous with your time and helping share with other people. Is there anything you would like to share that I neglected to ask you?
I guess I would just share my usual thing, Jennifer, is I'm really all about live with passion, work on purpose. And you do have to nurture those things. It's not like they just sort of show up and present themselves. And so I always want to tell my audiences that, you need to work at nurturing meaning, passion, inspiration, and purpose in your life, just like you brush your teeth, take vitamins, and eat. It should live on that level. So let's live with passion and work on purpose.
I love that. I love that. Many, many thanks for your time today. I so appreciate you, Alise.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer. It's been a privilege and an honor. Thank you.